highlighted the strategic importance of the Strait of Hormuz as negotiations with the United States continue through intermediaries. Tehran says it is still reviewing Washington's latest proposal and has made it clear that it will not be rushed by any deadlines set by U.S. President Donald Trump. Amid the diplomatic standoff, a senior advisor to the late Supreme Leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei has described control of the Strait of Hormuz as being on the same strategic level as an atomic bomb. He said the waterway gives Iran the ability to impact the global economy with a single decision, making it one of the country's most powerful strategic assets. The advisor also said Iran has no intention of relinquishing its control over the strait and will seek to further strengthen its position through international mechanisms and domestic legislation. Iran's first vice president has also argued that control of the Strait of Hormuz will help the country counter U.S. sanctions while maintaining the security of the crucial global shipping route. Now joining us live to shed more light on this is Yossi Kuperwasser, Israeli intelligence and security expert, joining us live from Tel Aviv. Mr. Kuperwasser, thank you so much for joining us here on NewsX World. Let's dive right in. What do you make of these statements that essentially, when it comes down to the Strait of Hormuz, it's essentially being viewed now as an atomic bomb? And do you believe that Iran will have full rights over the strait? How will this play out?
Well, I think that it definitely reflects the feeling of the Iranians that they found a tool with which they can put a lot of pressure on the international economy and on President Trump specifically. And they are not, they don't have any intention to let it slip from their hands. And this is why they insist that the way the shipping is going to go through the Gulf, through the Strait, is going to be according to their terms and not according to the American terms. And this leads us to the understanding that the memorandum of understanding was actually a memorandum of misunderstanding, because the Americans have interpreted it in one way and the Iranians in a totally opposite way. And until this is going to be solved out, we shall see more rounds of this kind of escalation.
Right. As far as the escalation is concerned, even New Delhi is quite concerned just due to the fact that some of their seamen have essentially been injured and killed. We also know that one seaman is still missing, according to reports. Based on what we're seeing right now, will the U.S. try to counter this? What are your thoughts, please?
Yes, we see that the U.S. is trying to counter this by very well pinpointed attacks against military targets in the area of the Hormuz Strait. But it doesn't seem that the United States has the appetite right now to go for something much bigger than that. And the Iranians can absorb this kind of military operations by the Americans and convey the message that they insist on having the Gulf and the Strait operate according to their rules. So I don't think this is going to change much for the Iranians, as long as this is the kind of way the Americans respond.
When it comes down to Iran, what do you believe that their stronghold is on the strait? Is it just due to the fact that they might be able to profit off of some tolls in the future? What are some other sectors that Iran can profit off of to essentially strengthen their economy as well, please?
No, I don't think it's only because of the economic impact of controlling the strait. It's beyond that. It's a way of showing the world that they are the stronger power in this competition of power, and that they can force their will over the American will. This is the most important thing. And this is going to be interpreted into their position in the region as regional power, and that's what they want to be respected as and seen as. And on top of that, it's also going to earn them some money because of the arrangements they're going to put forward. But this is not the most important issue.
Right. But Mr. Kuperwasser, when it comes down to Iran showing to the world that they are the strongest regional superpower, right now they might be threatened by Bahrain and Kuwait as well. Do you believe that their neighbors, Iran's neighbors, will try to also negate this stance that Iran wants so badly as being a regional superpower? We also know that Israel negates that up till this point, and as such, what more can you tell us about, let's say, further dissidence against Iran and this stance?
Well, I think most of the countries in the Middle East are against this ambition of the Iranians to become the regional power or the regional superpower. But not everybody is capable of doing something about it. The difference between most of the countries in the Middle East and Israel is that Israel is able to do something about it, but for the time being, it waits for the Americans to decide what they are going to do about it. And the Americans are the global superpower that operates in the Middle East. And we're all watching what are the Americans going to do in order to prevent Iran from becoming the regional superpower that may eventually bring a situation where they are going to be able to move forward with the nuclear project as well. Because this is another misunderstanding of the Memorandum of Understandings. It seems as if the Iranians are not willing to make any real concessions on the nuclear file as well. So and this is another concern of the regional countries.
As far as the MOU is concerned, we know that there are talks that are being held in Qatar as well. Do you believe that when it comes down to any sort of formal contract signing now between Iran, the US, even with Pakistan being a mediator as such, that whatever is being signed or discussed has no value at all? Is this where we are now as far as this situation is concerned?
I think both sides have expressed their concern about the readiness of the other side to perform what it is committed to do according to the Memorandum of Understanding. And that means that the importance of this memorandum is diminishing considerably. And the efforts of the mediators are to be respected. And I understand why they want to see some sort of an arrangement that would put an end to the hostilities. But it's going to be very difficult because these are crucial issues for both sides. For the Americans, it's crucial to make sure that the Strait are open for international shipping without any interference. And for the Iranians, it's extremely important to make sure that they control the Straits. So how do you compromise on one of these issues? I don't think that each side is ready to compromise. And the same thing about the nuclear file. For the Americans, this was the purpose of the war. They have to make sure that Iran doesn't have the capability to produce nuclear weapons in the future. But for the Iranians, if they want to be a regional power and maybe become later on a global superpower, they have to insist on having the capability to produce nuclear weapons in the future. So again, this is going to be a matter of sticking point where the prospects of reaching an agreement are going to be very problematic.
Right. Mr. Kuperwasser, please stay with us. We'll be back with you shortly. Tensions across the Gulf have escalated sharply after Iran launched attacks targeting multiple countries in the region. Qatar has condemned the strikes as a flagrant violation of its sovereignty and territorial integrity and a blatant breach of international law. Doha has warned that the attacks represent a dangerous escalation, holding Iran fully responsible for all consequences while affirming its right to respond. At the same time, it has called for an immediate end to military action in the region. Qatar's Interior Ministry says 3 people, including a child, were injured after debris from interception operations fell on populated areas. Authorities activated emergency response plans following the attacks. Iran says it targeted U.S. military sites in Bahrain, Kuwait, Jordan, Qatar, and Oman, while the UAE says it intercepted Iranian missiles and drones aimed at its territory. Meanwhile, the United States has carried out a 3rd round of strikes on radar, missile, and drone sites in southern Iran. The crisis has also spread to regional waters. Iran has announced the closure of the Strait of Hormuz after opening fire on commercial vessels, with CENTCOM reporting 1 crew member missing. Oman has also condemned an attack on its territory, calling it unacceptable, just hours after hosting Iran's foreign minister for talks on security in the Strait of Hormuz. Joining us live to shed more light on this is Yossi Kuperwasser, Israeli intelligence and security expert, joining us live from Tel Aviv. Mr. Kubuwasser, when it comes down to this crisis where Iran is essentially not holding back on attacks, and then there are retaliatory attacks and strikes, and the situation only seems to be getting worse based on these attacks, what can you tell us about how this can be changed, in the sense that, let's say I propose a hypothetical argument that essentially there does need to be regime change, and that will be a way for, let's say, American officials and authorities to diplomatically resolve this. Would that be a way out of what we're seeing right now as far as this crisis is concerned? It's already midway through the year. The attacks that were launched in late February have only continued, it seems like. What more can you tell us about what would be the best solution for all parties involved to move forward, please?
Well, the best solution would be to put much more pressure on the Iranian regime. This is good for stability in the Gulf. This is good for the world economy. And this is also good, and this is the most important thing, this is good also for the Iranian people, because I don't think that they are very happy, most of them are very happy with the fact that they are going to continue living under this suppressing regime. And we saw what they were aspiring for in the beginning of January when they were massacred by the Iranian regime. And now they have to keep quiet because the international community is doing not much less than necessary in order to help them. And the blockade over the Iranians that was put by the Americans was lifted. And the regime is celebrating its ability to stay in power and playing around with the Gulf states and attacking them when they are under pressure. And that's the way it's going to happen, unless there's going to be much more pressure on the Iranian regime. And we have to find ways to pinpoint the pressure to the Iranian regime and to make sure that it's not the Iranian people that are suffering, but the Iranian regime is suffering. Because in Iran there are two economies. There's the economy of the state, there's the economy of the regime. We have to be able to put pressure on the economy of the regime. After all, the Revolutionary Guards control quite a lot of the state economy, and with steps taken against the Iranian regime should harm the Revolutionary Guards economy more than anything else.
Let's discuss this pressure in greater detail. Do any of these leaders essentially then require sanctions? What can the international community do to try and extricate these leaders and essentially try and, well, not just arrest them, but essentially try to give them an example of what a peaceful time or a scenario could essentially look like? Is that even at all possible, just based on the mindsets of some of these leaders and whoever is carrying out these attacks and giving the go-ahead? Please.
It's possible, and it's not easy at the same time, I would say. But the blockade was a good idea if it was focused on the capability of the regime to keep staying in power. The military operations should be focused on those facilities owned by the Revolutionary Guards, and not only the military facilities, but also economic facilities that are operated by the Revolutionary Guards. There are many of them. And the sanctions should be pinpointed against members of the Revolutionary Guards and the regime's leadership, so that they would suffer the sanctions and not the population. That's not easy to be done, as I said, because we have to be knowledgeable about what is owned by them and what is not owned by them. And it's a complicated task, but I'm sure that the intelligence communities, both, especially in the United States, is well familiar with what needs to be done.
Mr. Kubuwasser, thank you very much for your insights. Much appreciated. Now, next up, Typhoon Bavi was downgraded to a severe tropical storm on Sunday after making landfall